Hello, I'm Dr. Garrett Boyer. Welcome to Gospel Minded, an outreach brought to you each week from Benedictus Psychological Services. Are you interested in psychology services with a Catholic perspective? Check out benedictuspsych.com. Now, on Gospel Minded, we spend a few minutes each week talking about psychology, our emotions, behavioral health, and we reflect on how these important topics are related to the Gospel reading for each Sunday. I want to point out that this isn't any kind of substitute for actually going to church or participating in counseling or therapy, spiritual direction if you're involved with these practices. But like we know so well, things of our mind, our psychology, so often go beautifully hand in hand with our spirituality. If this is your first time checking out Gospel Minded, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. Either way, I hope that you will subscribe to this channel so that you never miss an episode. And again, be sure to check out the new Benedictus Psych website for more information on the services offered at Benedictus Psych. So, happy Epiphany. This is one of my favorite days of the whole year. It's just so rich with symbolism, and the celebration liturgically has got so many traditions behind it. So I just love the solemnity of the Epiphany. And here we are on the eve of the 12th day of Christmas. I want to read a little bit of the gospel. It comes from Matthew today, chapter 2. It says, "When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of King Herod, behold, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, 'Where is the newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star at its rising, and have come to do him homage.' When King Herod heard this, he was greatly troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Assembling all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They said to him, 'In Bethlehem of Judea. For thus it had been written through the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, since from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel.' Then Herod called the Magi secretly and ascertained from them the time of the star's appearance. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, 'Go and search diligently for the child. When you have found him, bring me word, that I too may go and do him homage.' After their audience with the king, they set out, and behold, the star they had seen at its rising preceded them, until it came and stopped over the place where the child was. They were overjoyed at seeing the child, and on entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother. They prostrated themselves and did him homage. Then they opened their treasures and offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed for their country by another way." I get goosebumps reading that text. It's just so full of things to think through and consider, certainly spiritually. And I mean, there's a ton of stuff here that we could talk about. We could talk about the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, highlighting the priesthood, prophecy, and death, ministry and work of Jesus. We could talk about how the Magi, after meeting Jesus, went by a different way. When we encounter the Lord, do we have to go by a different way in our own life? So, I mean, there's just a ton that we could talk through and process here. But I want to go back to the beginning. Here it is, Herod saying, what are you talking about? Newborn king? What? I'm the king. I'm Herod. I'm the ruler. It says Herod heard this and he was greatly troubled. And then, of course, we know about then the persecution of Herod, the slaying of the holy innocents and the Holy Family then fleeing into Egypt. Herod had jealousy. He was jealous because he felt like his rule was threatened by this prophetic newborn king. And so I wanted to spend some time today talking about jealousy and envy. and talk about what these things look like and what we can do about them in our own life. Because envy, jealousy, they can bring up some very strong emotions that are connected to a lot of other often unhelpful emotions in our life. So let me tell you a quick story. When I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, it's an early memory that I have. I was the youngest child, and of course, the only child who was a boy and the youngest. So I was like the prince, right? And my parents were very good to me and treated me like a prince. And I remember we were getting close to Christmas, and my neighbor brought his daughter over, who was a friend of mine named Allison, and they had Christmas cookies that they were going to share with our family. And they had Allison dressed up in this sweet little dress and a beautiful velvet coat for Christmas. And, looking back on it now, she must have looked pretty darn cute in that little outfit. And boy, did my parents highlight how beautiful she was. They doted on her and lavished her with compliments and told her how sweet and how good she was. And as like a 5-year-old kid, I remember feeling these extreme feelings of jealousy. Like, why are you talking to her this way? You should be lavishing love and compliments on me, not her. And I remember I went to my room and I slammed the door and I pouted and sulked. And that was the first time that I ever experienced those hard emotions that come with jealousy. And, a lot of us at different points in our life, whether it's young, as we grow through adulthood, might experience jealousy and envy. We talk about jealousy and envy. Sometimes people use them interchangeably, but they are different. So envy is when somebody has something or someone else that I want. Somebody just got a new car across the street. It was a Ford Mustang. I'm a little envious. I want that car. That's what envy is. Whereas jealousy is more of a fear or a concern that what I have is going to be lost because of somebody or something else. So think about Herod. He's the king. And now these magi are coming rolling in from the east saying, well, where's the new king? Understandably, Herod was a little threatened. I'm the king. He's jealous of this rule. So jealousy, as we see here in the scriptures, as I have experienced in my life, and I'm sure you have in your life as well, it can look a lot of different ways. It can manifest itself in so many different domains, in work, in romance, in family life, whatever. And I could list a million different examples, but what do we do about it? Because you know what jealousy looks like for you, and when you've experienced it, I'm sure you're able to identify, yeah, these are some feelings of jealousy. So what do we do about it? Because we know that as humans, we all are going to have times where we experience jealousy and perhaps are envious. There are some things that we can do according to the literature to try and help alleviate these uncomfortable feelings that come with jealousy. I think one of the most important things that a lot of therapists will highlight is thinking through where those insecurities and where those fears connected with the jealousy are. Because a lot of times, like we've talked about even recently on this show, and like we know, what we think in our mind may not accurately reflect the reality of what's going on. So thinking through, well, what is really going to happen with this jealousy? Had I, as a 5-year-old kid, thought through what I was catastrophizing in my mind with my neighbor, Allison, it would not have looked like I believed it would have. So the jealousy was signaling to me, this girl is a threat. But if I really think that through, was she a threat? Were my parents really going to abandon me, send me to live out in the garage, or put me in the yard or whatever, and quit loving me and take Allison for their own child instead? No, of course not. But when we're experiencing jealousy, boy, our mind will wander to the most extreme kinds of thoughts. Whether we can articulate it or not out loud or in our mind automatically almost takes us to some of these extreme positions in our mind. And so to really think through, I'm jealous, why, and what is actually going to happen or become of this. Like many of our anxieties, our fears, there can be an adaptive function to it. You think about we're getting close to NFL playoff time. And if you think about a quarterback who's been in that position and somebody new comes along who's a little stronger, throws a little harder, makes better decisions, perhaps that quarterback who's held on to that position for a long time may feel a little bit threatened. And perhaps that jealousy can be adaptive in that it signals, hey, I need to step up my game. If I want to keep my position, I got to start performing better to keep up with this guy. So, in that sense, perhaps there can be an adaptive function to it. But so often, it's not helpful for us. And one of the points that a lot of researchers and a lot of literature pulls up is that people experience so much jealousy and envy when they look at social media. If you think about what we see on Facebook, Instagram, X, even on TV, all of these different platforms are showing people who present as putting their best foot forward and wanting to show, hey, I've got this experience or this aspect of my life appears to be really put together. But again, I think that cognitive reframing as well can be so helpful to think, I don't know the full picture. I don't have all the details. Sure, I'm looking at a picture right now of somebody on Facebook who is with their beautiful family. And man, look, it looks like they've got everything together. They're on a vacation in Florida, and look how close they are together and how much they're enjoying each other's company. Why can't I have that with my family? What's wrong with me and my family that we can't get it together like that? We're seeing an incomplete picture. We're seeing an image on social media. For all you know, for all I know, that family on vacation in Florida was arguing the whole time and miserable throughout the course of their trip. Their kids were looking at their phones for a lot of the vacation. They got into a fight with their mom and dad or whatever. All you saw was a snippet that was on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever as you were scrolling through your phone. And it's not the whole picture. But boy, we make a lot with those incomplete data points, don't we? And we can become very jealous. And so to catch that when we notice it. And then the research says practicing gratitude for the things that you do have. If somebody has got something that I don't and I'm envious of it, or if I'm feeling jealous, somebody else's life and what they have and what they are experiencing and going through doesn't take anything away from me in reality. And so to be mindful and conscious of the things that I have to be grateful for. And for so many of us, it's so much. By practicing gratitude, it can be a remedy to help suppress or eradicate some of those symptoms of jealousy and envy. And we know that they can be really hard to deal with. But gratitude is a very useful strategy according to the literature. And then last but not least, this maybe ties in with the spiritual piece. You have inherent value and dignity and worth as a human person. And God loves you distinctly and specially just for who you are. If we can remember that when we're feeling jealous, boy, that can really leave us feeling hopeful that regardless of anything or anybody else, God has a special relationship with me, just for me. And that can be heartening when we're feeling envious or jealous. So, good stuff. I hope you found it useful. Happy Epiphany. I'll see you next time here at Gospel Minded. I'm Dr. Garrett Boyer. Take care.